Welcome to
Chats from the Peak,
where God's favorites link up. My name is Lara.
My name is Memi.
And we are your, podcast hosts for Chats from the Peak. It's crazy.
We're your hosts of today.
And every day.
And every time you tune in, we're still your hosts. All that. All of the above.
We are still getting used to just being on camera because we are now on camera.
She don't even look at the replay.
I don't look at the replays because I'm still very uncomfortable. I'm still very uncomfortable with this. But
it's funny.
God, your plans are not my plans. Your ways are not my ways.
Amen to that.
But a little bit about us for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. We are the co-founders of Marriage Pinnacle, a marriage support platform that is for everyone, but especially for millennial couples of color, where we have curated resources, tips, education, personalized support to really help instill hope and cultivate and strengthen marriages. That is our goal. That is our aim, bottom line.
Period. Mm-hmm. And our goal in strengthening marriages is to strengthen families, which in turn strengthens our communities.
Absolutely. Definitely. So a little bit about Chats from the Peak. This is just our interactive, me and Memi being able to kind of share our gems, the things that we've seen, the things that we've heard along the way, the things we ascribe to, the things that we don't ascribe to. So I've been married for 9 years, almost 2 hands. We almost there.
Almost there. Mm-hmm. And I've been married for 11. Lara.
Jesus.
She be acting like it's such a big difference. It's literally just 2 years.
I mean, that's 2 years is a big difference, baby. You got 2 hands plus 1, okay? I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get 2 hands. But yeah, we've been married for some time, both of us. We both have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And out of our friend group, we were like one of the first, if not the first, out of our friend groups to get married. And so, it aligned perfectly. We've been friends for a long time. And it really just aligned during COVID that we create a space for millennial marriages. At the end of the day, we have a heart for this. We never want to come off as experts. By training, I am a clinical psychologist, but even with that, I think it's still important to glean from your community. And so that's ultimately what we aim to do. We want to create community. We want people to feel like they have a space where they can grow, where they can learn, and where they can take things away that they might not have known before to help strengthen their marriage. This is not a journey for the week.
No,
it's different every single day. Sure. And so the things that we've learned along the way, we just want to share.
That's it. Yeah. We're just here to talk about our experiences. And Lara comes from a clinical lens. I come from like my lens in the day-to-day.
She's a my
lens. And like just a more practical, I guess she's more like the clinician, and I'm more of like the practical application. Yeah. So that's sort of like our vibe and how we sort of, and she also talks about her own experiences as well.
Absolutely.
So that's our goal. Like, it's really just to show you all that it can be done. Our marriage is by no means perfect.
Definitely.
We're blessed with good husbands.
Definitely. Shout out to them.
Yeah. Team Dapple, Team Tala. But at the end of the day, we still worked really, really hard to be where we are. It's really just a matter of like sharing our struggles, our wins, and taking you guys along for the ride, and hoping that some of these things also like rub off on you guys, that there are things that you guys can also take from it. And we do plan on having like more interactive, like in-person events and things where we can actually talk to you all. We used to do Instagram Live.
Yeah, that's actually where this stemmed from.
So we started Chats from the Peak on Instagram. You can go to our marriage. We're on every platform. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, under @Marriage Pinnacle. We also have a website, www.marriagepinnacle.com. And you can see some of our old IG lives. You can DM us, talk to us about anything. And we always respond, and we're always like excited and happy to talk to our peak seekers.
Peak seekers, yes. Yeah. So if you're watching, you are now a peak seeker.
Yes.
And so ultimately, Marriage Pinnacle, I don't think we really ever talked about the name. So if you think about a mountain, you think about a pinnacle, that's like the peak, that's the top.
Yeah.
And as we know, what goes up got to come down, right? And so we know that at some point in your marriage journey, your relationship journey, you might face some valleys, but we want to really promote enjoying the peaks while navigating the lows, right?
Yeah, that's our thing.
That's our tagline, really. That's our tagline, and we really think it's important because marriage is not
linear.
It's not linear, and it's not all up. There are going to be times when you're down, and so how do you navigate that roller coaster?
For sure.
How do you navigate when you're in that season of low to kind of get back to that pinnacle?
That could be a topic on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like how to really delve into navigating the lows of life.
Yeah. And that's, and ultimately that's what we aim to do here. We want to have these conversations. We want to generate conversation. We want to get people thinking, and we want to challenge people in their thinking.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, people can be very stuck in their ways sometimes, and that internal work that usually happens in therapy, a lot of times it's really bad before it gets to therapy. And so we want to be kind of that stopgap before you, or even in conjunction with therapy. Like, have you looked at the way that you communicate? Have you looked at your boundaries? Have you looked at, your ideologies on things, and how does that align and impact your marriage? So we think those are some of the things and topics that we'll be talking about on Chats from the Peak. And obviously, if you tune into our page, if you look at our website, you'll see a lot of tips and resources and things to get you thinking that you can, obviously DM us if you have any questions about. So, usually we start off with a little internet chokehold. Yeah. So that's just where we kind of keep our ears to the streets, and it doesn't necessarily have to be celebs. It can be like in our sphere of so we are located in the DMV. Shout out to I'm not going to say Waldorf because
I'm sorry,
not the DMV, but are you in Charles County? I don't even know what county you're in. That's crazy.
Considered the DMV. Please don't do me.
So just go to PG. Let's just put it that way.
I live in the suburbs of the suburb, which is south of Prince George's County. And so I'm only like 30 to 40 miles south of DC. But people love to act like I live like in...
Because you live far.
Like I live somewhere
We're not going to even go there. But yes, so we're in the DMV.
Yeah, so am I.
Yes. We're both in the DMV. And so, again, a lot of our network, both extended and our nucleus, we're young professionals. A lot of our family and friends are, two parent households, things of that sort. And so when we also say internet chokeholds, it could just be things like in our sphere. So what do we got today?
So today we are talking about the pressure to keep up and how it can affect your marriage. So we talked about where we live. It's a very upwardly mobile area. We're also first generation Americans. So a lot of the people we're around, we're also first generation American. Nigerian American, sorry, yeah. So our parents are Nigerian, but they immigrated here. Yeah. And so most of us that were raised by Nigerian parents here or African parents, or Caribbean parents. I think a lot of immigrants have have similar experiences to us, but the experience of you're not allowed to be mediocre. You need to have a job that's going to be high paying. Yeah. You need to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer.
I'm sure if you have seen anything on social media, when you think of Africans, you think of doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I think that was what our parents kind of, I don't want to say pushed on us, at least the millennial generation. I think we have now seen that evolve, where people have now been encouraged to kind of really follow their passion. Obviously, I think parents ultimately want what's best for you, and they're saying that those three, because they a lot of times lead to you're successful and you're going to be taken care of.
Yeah, and not just money, but status.
Status is very important.
We love status. The idea of being doctor, engineer on the invitation. Oh, that is a thing.
It's a thing.
So that's also part of it. But I guess we're bringing that up because that also goes with successful. Like our parents had these desires and wishes for us, and it paid off for many of us.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of us are very successful. A lot of us have really good jobs, really successful businesses. We're raised a certain way. But today we're talking about like, what does that pressure come with? The societal pressure to sort of like keep up, and how does that affect relationships? How does that affect your marriage?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Laura, take it on.
So, I know that like a lot of times, at least for me, I look at social media very sparingly. Like I have a very love-hate relationship with social media, and I see things that for me, I could understand why people don't want to be on social media, if that makes sense. So I see the glitz, the glam. I see the 100 bouquet of flowers all over the room for birthdays and for Valentine's Day. And I see this person got a new car, this person got this, and it could be very easy to kind of internalize that.
Oh, yeah.
It could be real easy to look at that and say, well, why don't I have that? And, you know, we think about celebrities. Like, I think that, not that they're doing anything wrong, but I think seeing, I'll use the Kardashians or whatever, just because you see the Kardashians, you see that they have excess this. They are always able to throw a party. They're always able to do this. They have the best part. Not what you.
Their parties be so nice.
He was definitely there at He
Wait,
was definitely at the parties, right?
at the Kardashian party?
That's what I'm saying. Because you're talking like from like a place of.
So, thanks to social media.
And see, there you go.
Parties look really nice.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. But you see that, and it's almost like this idea of like, why don't I have that? Or what am I not doing right?
Yeah.
Or you see these relationships where they're always taking a vacation, and
my man flew me out.
Or even simple things like, my man takes pictures with me on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that
little challenge where they clap.
Cross their legs. Yeah, that was cute. The little clap one. That's actually cute.
My man would never.
So I was like, what? Come on, get out of here. And I think we can see those things and kind of compare. Like, why don't I have this? So let's even take money out of it, right?
Yeah.
Why can't you just take pictures, or why can't you just do a challenge with me online? Why can't you do a TikTok with me? But then when we do bring in things like finances and money, like, why didn't you throw me this? Why didn't you do this for me? And I think that like that pressure can make it really, really hard for, take out all the things that you have to deal with in marriage anyway, that added pressure. And I think that's something that's so different from our parents' generation, and even different from like other generations, because I feel like millennials, we are like smack dab in the middle where we knew life without the internet. And now we know life with the internet. As opposed to like Gen X, like Gen Z, not Gen, after us, Gen Z. Gen Z, like, all they know is the internet. Like that is their way of life.
So like what I was talking about is interesting, because we coming from the generation, like that in between generation where we had no internet to like dial up, to like flip phone, to like now like everything is on your phone. Everything. It's like we've been through the entire kind of like raise up. So it's like we still have that some sort of digital awareness where like, okay, this is kind of real, this is fake, this is real, this is fake. We still have that delineation, but what we have now is like, for example, Cardi B had a birthday party it was her birthday in October. Her man, Offset, got her a room full of flowers, Cardi B real big and all the balloons. Christ. Then he bought her like this beautiful painting that she saw. I think she said she saw it like in France, and then they had told her the number. She was like, never mind. And then she came down for her birthday and it was on the wall. Wow. So it's like, for me, I am aware that there's no, like, I can't now take that display of affection and put that on my man. Because we're not worth $100 million. So, you know what I'm saying? And so she's like, oh, my man did this for me. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, he hired someone to do it, which is still just as nice. But if it was my man, he would have to be in there blowing up all the balloons. By himself. Maybe his sister would help. But he's there. He's not paying nobody to come do that for him. So it's like, I have that awareness, and just being older, I have that awareness to know, And I can't now put myself in that position. But I have little sisters, little Gen Z babies, and they're looking at their man.
Like, why aren't you?
This is what I want for my. This is what I want for my 22nd birthday. This is what I want for my 21st birthday. And they're expecting these things. Like, I was talking to one of the girls in my church, and they're like, "Yeah, girl, my man needs to Birkin bag me." I'm like, sister.
Birkin who?
Do you know what a Birkin costs?
Birkin who?
That is like 2 college tuitions for 4 years. 2 of them in one. Like, your man is not buying you a Birkin bag. I'll tell you that right now. So it's like there's this delusion that they have because they see everything and they think it's attainable. You know, and as for us, it's not that it's not that it's not attainable. Like, maybe my man could do something like that. But it's not now on him, like, babe, you need to do this.
Yeah, that's great.
Because
I
saw this on social media.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm not saying that we're what's the word? I'm not saying we're not able to have that pressure, because the interesting thing about social media and is like when you're consuming this or just any media, when you're consuming it every day, you don't even know when it takes a hold of you.
That's true.
You don't even know when these things seep into you. You don't even know like where what you really like begins and what the algorithm wants you to like. You know, you don't even know where it splits because you're so immersed in it.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important. To me, I mean, granted, this episode is not on like taking social media breaks. Girl.
Just powerful to do not bang with me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But I think that even though this episode is not about this necessarily, but I think it's so important to take like breaks, right? To take breaks to bring you back to reality. Like, this is my reality and there's nothing wrong with it. Because I think, again, we see the glitz, the glam, we see the post that maybe shows the shortened version of like the time it took to get somewhere, and that's what we want. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not instantaneous a lot of times, and a lot of times that's what we think, and that's what our minds want us to believe, that it's instantaneous. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I can ascribe to that idea, and for me, it's always important to kind of take these social media breaks. That's just me. A little like sidebar, but like, have you seen anything lately that you feel like maybe? Because I know, again, you ain't looking for no Birkin. Maybe you are, but
I mean, I'm aware of what it requires. Like, I would love to have a Birkin, of course. But I'm also aware that in order for me to have a Birkin, I need to do a lot of things. Like, I need to be extremely responsible with my money. I need to be in a way better station.
And not even that, though. Before the Birkin gets here, a lot of other things would happen.
Yes.
Before the Birkin.
It is something I aspire to, of course. Like, and for me, it's not even like a social media or luxury thing. I've always liked fashion. I've always liked bags. I've always liked clothes and shoes. Like, I am a true girl.
You're a girl's girl. Yeah.
So it's like a girly girl. So it's like I desire these things, of course.
Do I deserve them?
Yes. Do I deserve them? Absolutely. But have I earned it? Not really. So like, I'm gonna just relax until I get, my God's grace, maybe a couple years.
Amen. Come on now.
Carry my big Berkey. What's that? Let's go, Berkey.
That's what you gonna call it? Berkey.
Little Berkey. But Berkey. I mean, it's like you do desire these things, but I'm very realistic. I'm very much a realist. And I feel like that is something that, some people are losing. You're losing it because again, when you're in the social media vortex, you don't know when it starts or when it stops. Agreed. So I'm very realistic. I know my levels. But it's like it doesn't take away the desires. The desires are still there.
That's fair.
But it doesn't take it away. And I think that's something, like Laura said, taking social media breaks or just like coming back down to earth every now and then.
For sure.
It's nice.
Definitely. For sure. So like, obviously that's not like you have that awareness, but I feel like has there been anything on social media you did see and you were like, oh dang.
Yeah.
Like, that, oh wow.
Oh, okay, yeah, like your friend, she had a birthday party in Dubai. And I had to DM her. I'm like, I need this itinerary now. Send it now.
Shout out to my girl.
And she was laughing. But when I say it was lit, it looked so lit, And so it looked like a great time. And so it's like when you see those things, like number one, I'm smiling. Cause I just love to see Black people having a good time. That is my thing. I love it. And so seeing them looking good, looking beautiful, popping bottles, having good food. Look at
outside you.
I loved it. I was like, I need every single step y'all took. I need it. Does that mean I'm trying to, like, babe, we gotta go now?
Yeah.
My birthday's in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
But
the desire is there. Yeah. Like, I would love to have a celebration like that. Yes. But I think that's where keeping up and just putting it onto my list.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not in a rush to now saying, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like if they can do it, I can definitely do it. So if they planned this, all she gotta do is tell me what she did, and I just gotta let Dapo know, babe, I need however many amounts of racks, and then we're just gonna go do this. I'm not doing that.
But see, that's the thing, Mammy. Like, I don't know if it's you as a person or like where you are in life, but that's not the case for people.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people would see this experience and be like, put the pressure on their partner to do that.
It's unhealthy.
To like, they went to Dubai. We got to go to Dubai and
we got to do it better.
We got to do it better. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like you see that, like, they went to, they stay for a week. We got to stay for 2 weeks. It's this idea that we have to keep up. Yeah. Oh, she did it. Like, not even my friend, but like, this girl did an unboxing. I got to do an unboxing. Why don't I have anything to unbox? It's this pressure that I think is there for people to feel like they need to keep up with this.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? Because by human nature, we are competitive by nature, right?
That's true.
Human beings are competitive. So it's kind of like, so we went to school together. We graduated at the same time. We have similar
jobs.
Our
stats is looking the same.
Right.
Like, why
on
can't
paper,
on paper,
it's all there. Yeah. So it's like, it's all there. So it's like, why? If she can do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And then it becomes this. But I feel like that's more of a self-esteem thing. At least if you ask me,
get to the root of it, baby.
I think it's a self-esteem thing.
Because
if you're not comfortable with where you are in your life, or you're not solid with what God is doing for you
in this moment, in this season,
you're always going to be looking at someone else's plate. Like,
now.
What you got? What you
come on now?
What you doing?
Come on now?
Even though we're similar on paper, it doesn't. Like, I was raised to not be envious.
Not covet. I'm not coveting what my neighbor has. That's
my mom has always taught us that you don't want what another man has. You don't want what another woman has.
Because first of all, you don't know what's going on behind
that's just my
doors.
thing. One thing about me is that I'm gonna save every Fiji resort, every Tahitian. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to tell Dapo for our anniversary.
That's where we're going.
We're going to Tahiti. I'm going to get online. I'm going to look at that flight, and I'm going to X out of the box. I'm not ready for a 24-hour journey to go anywhere. That's just not me. I'm not doing that right now.
Not there.
So it's like I'm not there yet. And so it's like, granted, it looks beautiful, but what it takes to get there,
ooh, child,
I'm not ready for that.
I feel like that is so, like, that analogy is so fitting because I feel like what it takes to get there, right? Not just the
You're on a plane and it's no stops. You're on the plane for 20 hours.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I feel like that analogy just about the journey to get somewhere is like life, right?
It's
like
life.
It is not, you cannot blink your eyes and be in Tahiti.
No.
You cannot blink your eyes and have what somebody else who's been working at it for X amount of years has.
Yeah.
And yes, are there opportunities and times when like you get a blessing and it's just like boom, things take off, this viral thing that we see? Yes, there are opportunities, and if you're blessed, you seize it, you capitalize, and like, yes, sky's the limit. But a lot of times you are posting and doing the work behind the scenes to finally get that big break.
To get there.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of times this idea of keeping up with the Joneses is we see what's pretty. We see what's pretty, and you're like, I want that now.
Yeah. Even me asking your friend for the itinerary, that's like me taking her. Like, I don't know. Like, from what I saw, that was not something that she just woke up one day and said, I'm going here and there. That probably took weeks of preparation, weeks of calling, making reservations, finding out what makes sense, finding out what's close to what, how we're going to get there. Like, that's work. So I'm just seeing, like, damn,
pass me the itinerary.
Yeah, give me the itinerary. She should charge me. I wouldn't be mad if she was like, no, I'm going to charge you because I know she probably don't charge me for real. Don't really charge me.
Slide
but I would, but I get it. Yeah. I would understand that.
Yeah, because
it takes work. It takes work, but it's like we're not seeing the work that went into it.
That's good.
We're just seeing her looking good.
Yeah, posting the pictures, and that's
what another say? Shaking my on a yacht. I want to be shaking my
on a yacht.
Like you just having the time of your life, but we don't know what it took.
And they don't know what it takes.
Yeah,
you know. And I think that's unfortunately, you know, I'm not going to say right and wrong, because as much as we can demonize and say, oh my gosh, social media, there's a lot of blessings to social media, because I think because of like what we see, we're able to access. I even think about, you know, when I see, what is it? I'm going to say her name. Matapita. The designer. Like a lot of people here know her now because of social media. Like because we're Nigerians, so we've known her when she was
making the wrap dresses?
FNR, yes. When she was talking about FNR, you know what I'm saying?
Making them wrap dresses for $40?
$40. Yeah. You know, we knew her back then, changed her name. People now know her because, again, of social media and access.
But she's put in the work.
But she's put in the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's put in the work where, like, she's not an overnight success.
Like, we just said we were buying her wrap dresses for $40, $60. A dress for her now, a wedding dress, you're spending $10,000.
Easy.
Minimum.
Easy.
She's not talking to you if you're not bringing $10,000.
And that's not
But that didn't happen overnight.
It didn't happen overnight.
But it's like people who don't know her before will have a consultation with her and be like, oh, she's smoking.
Yeah.
She's out of her mind.
Yeah, but she's put that work in.
But she's put in the work. She's earned that. She deserved that.
Yeah.
You don't know what she has to do.
Facts.
Giving out free dresses to celebrities to get her name out there. You don't know what that costs her.
The hustle. You don't know what it costs her. You don't know the grind. You
don't know.
And I feel like for me.
Not saying she did. I'm just saying those are the kind of things people do.
Obviously. You know, and I feel like that kind of goes right back into like, obviously marriages, right? And so like, that's the same thing with marriages. So my thing is like, yes, we can look at celebrities and things like that. And we can even talk about our like sphere, like using my friend as an example, right? It's not like she decided yesterday, like, oh, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like her and her husband planned it and said, okay, based on everything that we have going on this year, this is what we're going to do in order to make this work. For, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is not everybody's, like, that's what a marriage is. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't a one-sided thing. It's not like she went on her own and it was a conversation she had with her husband in order to make that happen. And so obviously that's like a quote-unquote extreme example. We can talk about little things, right? And I feel like even just birthday parties, like let's talk about like weddings and birthday parties. People will see the glitz and glamour and they'll go to vendors and say, this is what I want. Girl. And be humbled.
Every time.
And be humbled.
You're going to get humbled every time. Because how much it costs, you're never going to think that that's what it costs.
That's what it costs.
Unless someone has told you. You're never going to think.
And then you feel this like, and then like you're putting pressure on your spouse. It could be female, it could be male, it could be putting pressure on your husband, it could be husband putting pressure on your female to look a certain way. Let's even say that. And you don't know what it took to get there.
I mean, that happened to me. Like for my wedding, when I was planning my wedding, I've been married, like we said, 11 years, right? 11 years. It's been a very long time. So married in 2012, there was no like real Instagram. There was nothing like that. But I just happened to be a wedding blogger. So that was my side hustle. I worked with BCG events and I was their blogger. So I would blog other people's weddings. I would talk about 5 tips on how to plan your wedding easier.
You ain't new to this, baby.
I really was passionate about that. Like I loved weddings. I loved talking about weddings. So when I was now planning my wedding, it was, oh, you're the blogger for BCG. Your wedding has to be. It has to be tip top. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I could do this for like 30, 20 guys. No, double. So it's like, it was, I struggled. You know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of pressure on me and Dapo because I was now expecting him like, sir, bring them coins because I'm BCG blogger. My wedding has to be on top.
It has to be blogged about.
It has to be blogged about. Like my wedding needs to be that wedding because it was. We could give God the glory.
Y'all was draping before draping was a thing, baby.
When I tell you what those drapes cost me,
draping before draping was a thing,
and not just money, but tears, like actual tears, like actually crying. Like, can you imagine going to bed crying over drapes?
Your tears were soaking the drapes.
Cause I went to the drapes and Dapo was like, absolutely not. There's no way I'm spending this on curtains. We're not spending this on fabric on the walls. We're not doing
curtains.
it.
On curtains.
And when I tell you I cried, because I'm like, there's absolutely no way I can have that wedding. So what did I do? I took it to work. I was like, this is the quote Shorty gave me. I'm going to find a better quote. I called heck draping people. And I was like, I got one with half the cost. By that time, it's like, all right,
just go do it. Just go.
Just go. You got it.
Just go.
And that's how I got my drapes. But the pressure.
Yeah. Pregnant, girl. Don't touch me. I don't want that. Nope.
Getting married, having a wedding today. Not pregnant, y'all. We done. We're both done.
We're done. Okay.
Yes, we're done.
Locked and loaded.
Yes. What girls are done?
Yes. But I think that again, like, so you talk about from your wedding perspective, but like even now, would you say like you felt any pressure to kind of keep up with the Joneses or Car Joneses in terms of like influencers, like marital influencers, couple goals, parenting, or marriage blogs?
So it's so much, right? Like I'm not a couple goals girl, so I don't be checking for none of these couples because I know what it takes to have a sustainable marriage, and nobody can flex on me with their marriage. So I don't care what you're doing online. I'm gonna be wondering what it's really like in the back.
What's really happening?
What's really going on
behind the pictures?
What's really going on
behind
back
videos?
There? That's what I'm gonna ask every time.
Yep.
But I would say pressure parties. I do love parties. I do love having nice events. My son was turning 10, and so I wanted it to be like over the top, super big. But it was like, we're going to Nigeria next month for your brother's wedding, so the answer is no. I'm like, okay. And then even talking to my son, I'm like, hey, I want to have a hall party. He was like, no.
Can you imagine?
He was saying no. I was like, but your sister had one last year. Wasn't that fun? He was like, I want to go to Dave & Buster's. I was like, you want to do what?
Dave & Buster's.
And so I was trying to find a way to make Dave & Buster's as over the top as possible. Like, we're going to get a decorator. We're going to rent a big room. And I had to stop myself because it's like, I mean, it's just not that deep. Nobody cares but you. Like,
and that's the thing.
Be so serious. So yeah.
Nobody cares but you.
Yeah, like the actual child is old enough to tell you. That's why you gotta go crazy for the one, because they can't suck. Yeah.
And you like, we gonna do this.
We go regardless. That's why people be like, oh, he not gonna remember the one. Yeah, do it for yourself.
But I am though.
I'm gonna remember it.
But
do it big for yourself, because when they start talking,
don't do it.
They
actually
clip
don't
your wings.
Don't do it. I not gonna say ever, because my thing is like Levi's wasn't even over the top.
It was nice though.
But it was nice. But I feel like he does not remember.
But it's not for him. I tell everybody the first birthday is it's not for the kid, it's for the parent.
Big my back. Pat me on the back. Pat me on the back.
I made it through the first year. Like, no, we're turning up.
This is definitely not for. It's not for kids.
For the child.
It's for you.
I'll be crying half the time.
Levi was having a ball.
Did he?
You don't remember? He was like running all over.
He was having a. Dyer was crying the whole time.
No, Levi had a ball. Yeah. He was walking, so he was good. But
But sorry,
so for me, we digress. So for me, I honestly, I wouldn't say I feel any pressure. Because there's really no, like, there are some influencers that I absolutely love. Yeah. Like, I love just what they represent. You know, and I think for me, what I take from the things that I do see is like ways to be better. So it's not necessarily pressure. Right, so like I love Redefine some Maria's in Gasmo in Texas. I love their page, and I just love that she has Black daughters and she just empowers her. So that is what I take. Like for me, it's not a pressure to keep up. It's just like I love that she does. I've always done affirmations with Levi, but I like crazy. I have a daughter. I didn't do them with Zion, and so I see her when she does it with her girls. I'm like that for me. Makes me more aware that that's something you probably should be doing. Shout
out to Redefine. RIE_define.
Yeah. I love that she does that. And it reminds me like really I need to empower and affirm my daughter. Like if I do it for my Black son, I should absolutely do it for my Black daughter. Sure. And so like it's not necessarily pressure to do what she's doing, but it's an awareness for me. Yeah, awareness. And so for me, I love that. Couples goals will never ascribe to couples goals ever. Like
Michelle and Barack is the only people I make exceptions
even them for. Sorry,
that's mine. That's
cool. I love. Don't get me wrong. I love Michelle and Barack. I love what they represent. But for me, it's not couples goal because to me will have the people who will be my couples goal will be people I know their marriages.
Yeah.
Inside, like and it doesn't even have to be the ins and outs, but like I know what their marriage is really like.
And I think what I respect about Michelle and Barack is that Michelle's always like, hey, it's hard.
Yeah, which is, I mean, granted, like,
hey, it's hard over here.
We have her on our page, so like, don't get me wrong, I love.
That's what I respect about her.
Yes,
I read her book,
realness.
I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I can actually get behind them because one thing she's gonna do is she's gonna keep it real.
That's what I love. So that vulnerability, that transparency, I love. But again, I still don't know the ins and outs, which is the only reason I say they're not my couples goals. It's more so I look at people who are in my sphere, like people who are older, who've been in the game, who got a little bit more skin than me. I can say, yeah, I know they've been putting in work. I know what it's taken. I know, like, I've seen the come up. That is to me more couples goals, where like I love the alignment you guys have, and I want to see that in my own marriage. That for me is more couples goals.
Yeah, but it's not pressure.
It's not pressure.
Like, so it's like I feel like we're basically saying that you can still take good things from what you're seeing online.
Absolutely.
And from other social media. And even in the examples we use, like, I just want to have a good time. That is a good thing. I think it turns into pressure when it gets a dash of enviness. When enviness is not a word, but when envious, you know, or there's an insecurity within yourself. I feel like that's when it becomes really problematic. And then especially when you start to project that onto your partner or just people around you.
Exactly.
Know, that's when it becomes problematic.
And it's crazy because I was talking to a friend and she kind of made mention of that to me. Not that she was, but she was like, you know, real talk, I feel like, you know, there are some people that will see certain things that you do or that your friend does, not that specific friend, but just that your friend does, or an example. She just given an example, like, we'll see things that, you know, people are doing and then feel like they have to keep up. They have to match that. So, like, if you're buying a Birkin, I gotta buy a Birkin, and yours is black, I gotta buy a black one that's got red stripes on it. So you know, and I just... It's cringy. It's cringy. And I'm just like, that is crazy, because my thing is, ultimately, these people are living their lives, right? They're living their lives and they're doing what makes them happy. They're not doing it for other people. So I feel like we should all be in a space where, like, you're doing what works for you in the season that you're in.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
Like, I feel like I definitely got wrapped up in the, like a couple years ago, I think during the pandemic, like, a lot of people would, you know, you're not spending money on commuting. A lot of people are having, like, remote jobs, doing unique things with the job. Luxury became a really big thing. That was big. You know, and I won't say it's still not a thing, but I don't think it was as much of a thing as it was during the pandemic and the years after. So it became, like, my age mates are buying designers. I'm in. I'm locked in. Like, I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting. Celine bag, I wanted one since I was a kid. So now it's the time. But in reality, are you really ready for this? Like, are you really, is this really your season to be doing these things? Can you do these things without feeling the ramifications later? That's good. You know? That's good. And so, and that's not just bags and shoes, but it's just in anything. Like, if you're looking at what other people are doing and you're like, oh, if they can do it, I can do that too. Like, 'cause it could be inspirational, right? Like, you could be inspired in a positive way. But then it's like, you have to now ask yourself, like, okay, is it my time? And so I think after a while, I've stepped back and I'm just like, Mammy, by God's grace, you have a really long life. Like, you still have time, more years ahead of you than behind you. So, like, let's relax. Just calm down. Like, you can have the whole decked out closet and everything, but in the right time. You know, there's priorities, mixing that whole, like, Black girls in luxury with my impulsive shopping, or with, like, my shopping thing. It was not a good recipe, because then it became like, I'm not the kind of person that, oh, I really like that bag, let me go get that bag. It's like, I need to think about it. I need to make sure that it's something that I will actually like. You know, I am an influencer's dream. Not like click purchase. That is me. I'm a salesman. You see me come in, you should just be happy.
Just get the coins. They're gonna get them for her.
Because I'm gonna help your commission out today. Because I love to spend money. But it's like, also, I don't like. I will buy things and have regret. I will have buyer's remorse quickly. So I'm knowing that about myself. I'm starting to take more time with my purchases. Like, okay, like think about this bag. Give it 30 days. If you still want it in 30 days, is that him?
That's him. I think
no, his thing is don't buy a bag if you can't buy 3.
Come on now.
That's a bit much.
That's a word to the wise.
Is it? That's a bit much. I'm like maybe 1 or 2, but this man said 3. Wow. No, that's crazy. But yeah, so that's his thing. But
yeah. So I feel like that's a good segue. Like, so do you feel like within your environment, do you feel like your environment impacts how you view your relationship, your marriage? So like from the aspect of like kind of the same way, but like, I mean, your immediate environment. So like the people in your sphere, do you feel like they impact how you view your relationship, how secure you feel, like where you are now? You've been in the game for 11 years, you have this, you don't have that, whatever the case may be. Do you feel like...
so I feel like they do impact it, but more... I think it's more positive leaning. Okay. Because I think because me and Dapo are the first in our group to get married, I do feel like a lot of people kind of look up to our marriage. And like they kind of... You know, like a lot of people say, if Mimi and Dapo break up, then there's no hope. Like everyone is done. Yeah. You know, and so I feel like that kind of, that gives me, it makes me feel like I also have a duty to my community. Okay. Nice. You know, so I feel like my marriage is not just for me, but I feel like it is for, you know, for like the people around me. Like they lean on us as an example. They lean on us to see like, okay, Mimi and Dapo, how did y'all get through this? Or when this happened to y'all, what did y'all do? Like, I feel like that, I do feel like that is our role. And that's part of what I love about Marriage Pinnacle, because I'm able to kind of spread that, spread out what I feel like our calling, that calling on our marriage is. And so I feel like it impacts us, but in a more positive way. The pressure is more positive. The pressure is that I can't just walk out of here because so many other people will lose hope or lose, you know, lose faith.
So there is pressure there. Wow.
There is pressure. Wow, there is pressure. I will say that there is pressure, but it's not in. I know that there's another lens to that where it could be like, oh, your friend says, oh, your man didn't buy you that bag, he ain't ish, you know, or like, what kind of man you got and he ain't doing that, you know, or even just having those thoughts. Like that is another way that your community can affect your how you view your relationship.
Do you feel like, and this is not an interview because I feel like I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah, girl, I need to interview you when we're done.
Do you feel like Dapo feels the same like pressure?
Like from the community?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be really interested. I might ask him when we get home. Yeah. I don't know if he feels that way. Okay. I do feel like he knows people look up to us. Yeah. I do feel like he knows
that. So he does. Okay.
He does know that, but I don't know if he feels the same weight.
Interesting.
Like, you know.
That's good. Yeah.
So for you, do you feel pressure on your community? From your community?
Yeah, I feel like not necessarily from a pressure perspective, but I feel like just for, actually, yeah, from a pressure perspective, I would say. I feel like I want to keep up as far as like, I am of the belief that birds of a feather flock together. I am of the belief that iron sharpens iron. I believe that people, like, if you are around people, it is likely that they are like-minded. Yeah. Like, you are all like-minded. So in that regard, I never want to be the weakest link. That is accurate. That is an accurate statement. I don't want to be left behind. And so that, for me, what do I need to do to work harder? Yeah. And I do feel like there was a point in time, not necessarily that I was comparing. Well, maybe I was comparing, you know, because again, my husband is super, super, super to himself. You know what I'm saying? He's very introverted, and he very much so just loves being at home with the kids. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I did feel not necessarily pressure, but I felt like, you know, you need to be not out here, but like you need to be
next to me.
Yeah, like you need to be like, why aren't you, like, if I'm doing something, like, you need to be with me and blah, blah, blah. And I felt like there was a pressure in that regard, especially like being like the first, like one of the first people out of my friends group to get married. Like, I could be like, well, Memi and Dappa always go places together. Like, why don't you ever want to go places with me? Or why don't you ever want to do blah, blah, blah with me? And I felt like that was pressure. And I had to learn, like we say all the time, every marriage is different. You know, so that required me to kind of do some internal work. So I don't think it was ever like an insecurity thing. It was just more so like but isn't this how like, marriage is supposed to be? Like, what are they doing that we're not doing? You know, but again, I feel like both you and Dappa are not introverted. Like, even though you might enjoy being home at times, not you so much, but like, even though you might enjoy being home sometimes.
This girl like, see?
Like, it's not like Tola enjoys.
Tola's not leaving.
It's like home, Tola, like this.
Dappa.
Like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is very different. Like, I have a very introverted husband and I'm very extroverted. Actually, I'm an ambivert. Like, to be honest, to be fair, I'm an ambivert. Like, you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Laura,
but I'm very much an ambivert.
Laura,
we're gonna move on.
It's not about being in a house. Like, where do you get your energy?
But I can get my energy from home as well. But I get it more so from when I'm around people. From people. Anywho, as I was saying, I felt like that was the pressure I was feeling to feel like I needed to, like, it needed to be a certain way. And very early on, I had to adapt that, like, you only want to see someone on rare occasions. You know, and that's okay. And like, I've learned, and like my friends have learned, people have learned, and it's like, it's a joke now with all of our friends, like, oh, Tola out?
You feel special.
What?
When Tola's special,
like,
you're like, wow.
You out here?
I am
good to see you, sir. We're happy to have you. You know, and it's a joke, right? Because
but I also feel like he has also made more of an effort.
Exactly.
Like, because you do 100%. See him more than he used to, and it's always nice.
It was like, are you really married? We was at your wedding, but I mean, are you sure? Like, are you sure? So it was never coming out, okay? But like, I feel like again that was the pressure I felt like I imposed on him. But not knowing, like, okay, I also need to understand this is the husband I married. Just like he's never tried to change me, I learned very early I could not change him. And I think that goes back to this kind of this whole overarching conversation of like, yes, you might feel pressure, but like, are you feeling the pressure now to change your partner? Want them to be more of this, want them to be more of that, want them to do more of this, and like, that's not in their scope.
It's not who they are.
It's not who they are. You know, and I feel like that's when we get like, this pressure becomes like detrimental to the marriage or detrimental to the relationship, because you're now using that as like the driver for why you do things. You know, so for me, I felt like, yes, there were times in our marriage where I did feel pressure, and I did impose that on Tola in certain ways, and obviously there was pushback. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tola never came out and said like no, but it's just like, I shouldn't have to fight for certain things if that's innately not who he is. If that makes sense.
It's you have to ask yourself, like, am I being fair?
Am I being fair?
Because if he was like, you need to sit at home, you need to stop going, you know, early on.
Oh, Jesus.
Like,
problem.
You wouldn't have liked that.
I wouldn't have liked it. So, and I feel like that literally, when I was able to look at it from that lens, I was like, I need to kind of chill. I need to kind of chill. You know, so for me, I think that was where the pressure came from. You know, and I think that like learning that, and even like also like, I wouldn't say necessarily like designer way, but I do feel like, again, that like-minded aspect. Like, if all of my friends are doing well, I feel like I have no choice but to do well. And to me, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
You know, it's not a bad thing. But like, when I'm now coveting what my friend has, and I'm like looking at this and like, what do I have to do, or what does my husband have to do to get that? That's when it's a problem. And I don't think for me,
and it happens so easily.
It kind of does. It can.
It happens easily, and it's like you do have to check in with yourself.
You know, like, and be real.
You have to check in with yourself and be self-aware.
Be self-aware.
Yeah, because like just that simple thing of like, oh, my friend just sent me a bag she bought. Oh, okay. How much is it? Oh, I really like this bag. Oh, let me go see how much this is. Let me add this to my cart. Let me buy it. It's like, there's a couple steps you should have taken. Like, okay, like, how will this bag look in my wardrobe? Does it really match my style? Does it really go with my vibe? Like, is it something I'm going to carry in 10 years? Am I going to get my car? Like, it's a checklist that I go through before I make those kind of big purchases.
Definitely.
But it's like before, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna just do it because she did it. Because if she could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
It's like that's just not always the case.
It's
just
not always the case.
Important
and then not even that, about priorities, right? Because in the season that person is in, she can do that, or he could do that.
Yeah.
They can do that. They can go and you know buy X, Y, and Z.
Friends with single friends, no kids.
Yeah, like there are like people are
traveling
in different
the world.
seasons. People are in different seasons.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I have to come from the mindset of, and the thing is, we could even be in the same season, but they pockets is just different than mine.
It's different.
And that's just the facts.
And even if your pockets are the same, your spending habits might be
different, right?
And your investment habits might be different.
That's
so
it right
like
there.
You just don't know what people are doing.
And that's what I'm saying. People see what they see. They see what they see, and that's all that they saw. You know what I'm saying?
This is a very interesting topic for me because I think so many people are in this. So many of us are in this without even knowing we're in it.
Yeah.
You don't. It's one of those things that just kind of consumes you, and you don't realize until it's brought to your attention, or you listen to our podcast, and you're just like, wait.
You're like, I resonate with some
like
of those
maybe
things.
it could be talking about me, but it's one of those. It's like those silent. It's like a silent. I won't say killer, but like a silent problem that you don't realize until it comes to a head for the most part.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, you know, as we wrap up, you know, the only thing I don't think we really touched, we kind of actually did touch on it, right? So I feel like we touched on from the perspective of like, we are Nigerian Americans. And so because of that, we've kind of been trained to believe to do certain things, blah, blah, blah. But do you feel like in any regard that culture has like influenced how you view what your partner has, or like not what your partner has, but what your like expectations.
Yeah. So I would say the way I look at it is kind of like about how culture affects it is that we talk about being competitive, right? And that comparison is a thief of joy, right? And how many of us have heard growing up is so and so knows all their multiplication tables. What about you?
Do you have two heads?
Do you have two heads? So and so brought home all A's, and you're bringing home B's.
Yeah.
What are they doing that you're not doing, right? So it's like that's kind of in us.
Yeah.
You know, that competitive nature, and not just that, but there was this boy that went to my church, and his name was Aya. Shout out to Aya. He's literally a PhD.
Yeah.
Like in like some crazy crypto something. Like he's has his own business.
Yeah.
Like he's extremely brilliant.
Oh wow.
But as a child, and I'm talking about 8 years old, my dad is like, "Aya, let me come in. Aya can tell all his multiplication from 1 to 12, and you're still struggling with 6." So now when I sit back, I'm like, okay, so he's just brilliant.
He's just brilliant. He's just smart.
And he's just always been brilliant. So he knew his multiplications at 4 because he's super stinking smart.
He's smart.
I'm smart too, but so yeah, like our parents do play a part in making us feel like we have to be the best.
Yeah.
If we like the competition is sort of like I do feel like it comes from our culture and how we're raised.
Absolutely.
Like, our parents are very like, you need to be the best.
Yeah.
Like nobody else should be the best. So something as simple as, oh, if that person is doing it, I can do it as well. It's like that's just in that they put that in us.
Yeah. And I mean, just from a not a cultural perspective, but I think when you do look at African cultures, keeping up with the Joneses is absolutely, it's not even, it's literally a thing.
It's like very much
you know, in diversity, like I remember being in school and grad school and talking about diversity, and when we talk about Africans, keeping up with the Joneses was absolutely a thing that we ascribed to, and it could be from a good place or not a good, not a good place. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it's absolutely something that influences us. You know, but obviously, as we are in our marriages and we're encouraging people, because obviously our demographic is not just Africans, it's not just people of color, it's everyone. It is important for you to kind of do that self-reflection, to determine like what is driving you, like what is driving why you want this thing, why you want to do this thing, why this is important to you. And if it is coming from a place of just growth for your family, something that you want or aspire to have, then that's different than I want it because this other person has it, or whatever the case may be. So for me, when I think about takeaways for this episode, I still go back to what I said earlier about that kind of taking those steps back and like the disconnecting.
Yeah.
You know, I think that social media, like I said, as great of a tool as it is, can sometimes have you, like you talked about, in this vortex of just like information overload, and like having those times and those breaks where you can disconnect and be in spaces where you can touch and feel and be present. I think is so important.
I love the being present part.
Yeah, it's so important, you know, and that mindfulness, right? Like that being presently aware, I think is super important, and recognizing that really like comparison is the thief of all joy. I think it's a saying that we've heard so many times, but you know, people put up the best of the best. They do. You know, they put up the best of the best. Like, I mean, if we think about it from a global celebrity status, we think about Tiana and Iman. Yeah. Like, for them, I just loved what they represented for Black love. I do, and I still do, whatever, you know. It's sad to see the place that they're in now, but I still, like, looked at their couple and I said, you know, they're a young couple making this thing work, you know. But obviously there are things behind the scenes. And so I use them as an example to say that, like, behind the pretty pictures is real life.
And Jeannie and Young Jeezy, you really loved them. That was heartbreaking for you.
That was, it's tough for me, you know.
She's recovering.
I am very upset about them, but it is what it is. And I think, again, it brings me back to reality that we do not know what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. You know, behind pretty pictures and behind the access they did provide us, because again, like they did talk, like Jeannie did talk about her relationship. She has a blog, and so she does talk about things, but even behind that there were still things going on.
Yeah, and I think that's a good example, because even like you talked about people you know in real life, there's still things that your closest friends will keep to themselves. Yeah, because absolutely. You talked about how in another episode you talked about how like confidential you are. Yeah. So it's like if you're going through something in your marriage, we may not know, you know, and your friends may not know, and just because of that's just how you are. And there's a lot of people that are suffering silence types. Yeah. You know, so it's like you may think like, oh, the marriage is good and everything's going good. But it might be...
But they're suffering. You don't know.
You still don't know. You just really just never know.
So, like, so taking...
Always just leave with grace.
Yeah, and like, again, like not comparing your situation to anybody else's. You know, and like at the end of the day, I think we should block out the noise. Like, run your own race. Yeah, I like what is for you is for you. You're not racing and you're not in competition as much as our parents tell us that we are. Yeah, they'll make you feel like but in reality you're not. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to kids, when it comes to buying a house, getting another house, whatever the case may be, you're not in a race. And I love this, like, I heard this, like, you can't chase the space that you're not in. Yeah. So I cannot chase the space I'm not in.
I really like that. Yeah.
Like if I'm not there, I'm not there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Like we talk about like women that get married and it's time to like give birth and it's like, oh, where's the baby? Or everybody has a baby. Or you start looking at wedding dates and you're like, this girl got married after me, but she has a baby
now,
and I'm still waiting. Yep. It becomes this. And not even there. I know that there are other things that come with like fertility struggles because it's not even just the pressure, but it's like I really want this thing and it's not coming. Yeah. But you're still looking at like
everyone else.
She had it. She got it easily. She did this. She did that.
It came easy to her.
You know, it makes things even worse.
Yeah, it makes things worse.
It makes things worse. But like Lara said, if you're able to kind of remove yourself from the present and understand, like, okay, I'm on this journey and it's uncomfortable. Yeah. It's not what I planned. Yeah. But these are the things I need to do. Yeah. I need to pray. I need to be in the spirit. I need to go to fertility clinics and see what's going on.
Whatever the case may be.
And stay in that present. Yeah. Keep it here. Yeah. That help. And it's easier said than done. 100% easier said than done. But that should be what you're striving for. Because it takes the noise out. It takes the pressure out. It takes what God has done for her, him, and you're able to just look at your own experience. Yeah. So
and then last, I would say, like, you know, going back to like this self-awareness, like when you do find yourself in a space where you are comparing and it's impacting your marriage, like what is the void that is like needs to be filled? Like get to the root. You know what I'm saying? Like get to the root of the matter. Like, do I want this because I'm not happy with what I look like, what I have, what I don't have, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So it's really getting to the root, and that self-awareness piece I think is super important.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. What's the void that needs to be filled? Because it's like you don't again, like being in a social media vortex, you don't know why this thing is happening, or why you're getting mad at your man for not taking you to the Four Seasons or Valentine's Day. You don't know why that's pissing you off, but in reality it's because you don't feel desired in other ways. Or you're lacking that attention. So you're looking like, oh, it's the attention I need. Let's just talk about that. Babe, can you just give me a little bit more attention? I just need a little bit more.
That's good.
So it's like, you don't have to go spend $1,000 and buy me this or buy me that. I just want this. I just want some attention.
That's
you
good.
know?
That's real good. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps up like this episode on just societal pressures. And you know, at the end of the day, we want to know what your thoughts are. We want to know if it's been a challenge for you, if it's something that you know is easy, you don't ascribe to it, it's like off your shoulder, not a thought, or if it's something that you struggle with. Obviously, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And tune into another episode, Chats from the Peak.
Period. Bye.